When you think about buying a home, what's the first number you obsess over? For most people, it's the purchase price. $400,000, $500,000, $800,000. That's the number that keeps people up at night. But here's the truth. When you're buying with a mortgage, the sticker price isn't actually what matters most. What really matters is something completely different. In today's video, I'm going to show you why focusing too much on purchase price is actually a mistake, and instead, what you should be looking at when you're financing your home. To make this clear, we'll walk through real numbers on a $400,000 loan with a 6.3% interest rate. By the end, you'll see why the number on the price tag doesn't matter nearly as much as you think. So here's what usually happens when someone starts house hunting. They go on Zillow, Redfin, or walk into an open house. And the first thing they look at is the big number at the top of the listing, the purchase price. And instantly, their brain goes, that's too expensive, I could never afford that. But here's the thing, when you're buying with a mortgage, that number doesn't tell the whole story. In fact, it can be really misleading. Most people make the mistake of comparing homes strictly by price. Like it's the same as buying something in cash. They think, house A is $400,000, house B is $420,000, so house A must be the cheaper or smarter buy. But that's not how mortgages work. Why? Because you're not writing a check for $400,000. You're financing it. You're spreading that cost over 30 years, broken down into monthly payments. And those payments are tied to your interest rate, your loan structure, and even things like property taxes and insurance. Think about it like buying a car. The sticker price might say $50,000, but most people don't pay $50K up front. They finance it. And what do they actually care about? The monthly payment. If their monthly payment is $650 and it fits their budget, they're fine with it. They're not sitting there saying, well, technically the car costs $50,000, so I can't do it. Now, homes are way bigger purchases than cars, but the same principle applies. Except, here's a kicker. Because mortgages stretch out over 30 years, the monthly impact of an extra $20,000 on a purchase price is actually way smaller than people realize. But here's why this matters. If you're obsessing over the purchase price, you might pass up on a better home in a better neighborhood with higher appreciation potential, all because you were fixated on that sticker number. And in the long run, that could cost you way more in missed equity than the extra $20,000 you saved upfront. So when you hear people say, I'm waiting for prices to drop before I buy, it sounds smart on the surface, but what they're really saying is, I'm waiting for the wrong number to change. Because a $10,000 drop in purchase price doesn't move the needle nearly as much as, say, a 0.5% drop in interest rates. And this is where most buyers get stuck. They panic at the sticker price instead of running the math. The truth is, homes work the same way as that financed car, but with mortgages. The math is way more powerful, and the opportunities to build wealth are way bigger. And to really prove this, let's actually break down what the $400,000 loan at today's interest rate so you can see that difference for yourself. All right, let's move from theory into practice with some real numbers. Say you take out a $400,000 loan at a 6.3% interest rate for 30 years. Your monthly principal and interest payment comes out to about $2,474. Now, let's do a comparison. House A costs $400,000. House B costs $420,000. So most people immediately think House B is too expensive, but let's see what happens with the mortgage. At $400,000, your payment is $2,474. At $420,000, your payment is $2,595. That's only $121 more per month. It's the cost of a cell phone bill. It's one dinner out per week. It's less than what most people spend on subscriptions they barely use. And here's what really flips the script. That $420,000 house might be in a better school district, have lower maintenance costs, or appreciate faster over time, which means the long-term gain can easily outweigh that $121 a month difference. Imagine two buyers. Buyer 1 insists on sticking to a $400,000 budget and buys a home in a less desirable neighborhood. Buyer 2 stretches to $420,000 and buys in a growing neighborhood with better schools. Fast forward 10 years. Buyer 1's home is now worth $500,000. Buyer 2's home is worth $550,000, and that's a $50,000 equity difference. All for about the cost of Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus combined each month. Now, what happens if interest rate shifts? Let's test it. Take the same $400,000 loan at 6.3%. We saw the payment is $2,474. Drop the rate to 5.8%, and suddenly the payment is $2,349. That's a $125 drop in monthly payment. That's almost identical to saving $20,000 on the purchase price. In other words, a 0.5% change in your interest rate has the same impact as negotiating tens of thousands off the asking price. And it works the other way too. If rates go up, even a cheaper house can feel more expensive month to month. This is why smart buyers focus on less on price tags and more on financing terms. They ask, what's my rate? What loan program am I using? Can I refinance later? And this is the most important one. What's the total monthly cost, including taxes and insurance? Because in the real world, affordability is defined by your payment, not what the market says. Now, let's zoom out even further. Real estate isn't just about affordability today. It's about wealth tomorrow. Here's the magic of mortgages: leverage. With a relatively small down payment, you're controlling a huge asset. A $400,000 house might cost you only $20K to $80K out of pocket, depending on your loan program. Yet, when that property appreciates, you capture the full gain. Let's say your $400,000 house appreciates at just 3% per year. That's $12,000 in year one. Meanwhile, you're paying down your loan every month, slowly building equity. Over 10 years, the value of the home could rise by $120,000 or more. Plus, you pay down maybe $70,000 in principal. That's almost $200,000 in equity growth, far outweighing whether you bought the house for $400K or for $20K. And here's a kicker. If buyer 2 from our earlier story bought in the better neighborhood, their appreciation might be even higher. That's the power of thinking long term. So if your mindset is, I'll only buy if I get the lowest price possible, you might win the short-term battle, but lose the long-term war. Because the people who build wealth through real estate are obsessed with the financing terms and the bigger picture. So what should you actually do with this information? Here are 4 practical steps. Shift your focus to monthly payment. When you look at homes, ask yourself, what does this mean for my budget each month? That's the real affordability test. Pay attention to interest rates. 0.5% in rate can move your payment as much as $20,000 in purchase price. Rates matter more than negotiating the price down. Look at the long-term wealth equation. Consider appreciation, equity buildup, and your ability to refinance down the road. That's where real wealth is made. Think, does this property fit my life, my budget, and my long-term goals? If the answer is yes, then it may be the smarter move, even if it costs a little more upfront. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button so more people can see this strategy. Subscribe for weekly tips on real estate, mortgages, and building wealth. And let me know in the comments what scares you more right now, the purchase price or the interest rate. Let's talk about it.